Great. Welcome back to Foiling Week 2020 and our Gurit Forum. I'm your host, Chris Museler. I have Bruno Gintoli from Lago di Garda, and we also have my co-host, Andrew Pindar, who's socially distant 3 meters away from Bruno. We just finished with the S05 forum and panel discussion. Unfortunately, we had some technological issues with Orazio Carabelli and Martin Fisher from Luna Rossa, but we had Dan Bernasconi, and we'll interview those Luna Rossa designers later and post that as well. Talking about those technologies and where they go in the more luxury and recreational world, we have Tommy Gonzalez from Fast Forward Composites to talk to us, give us an update of a design that we've been following for a long time, not a long time, but just the last year or so. The EagleClass 53. And Tommy, you're in Rhode Island?
I am in Florida right now. I've been traveling.
Awesome. Well, welcome. You've been a participant with the Foiling Week, and when we were in Miami, you were with us, and we've been following the EagleClass 53 for quite some time. Tommy and I spoke, and this is a two-part interview. One of them is about an update to the EagleClass 53, which is a foiling luxury catamaran with a wing and a soft sail, which I've had the privilege to sail. It's fantastic. It's fast, and we'll talk more about it. It's been an evolution to slowly build up this boat to autonomous flying, or at least ride height control for just luxury ripping around on a foiler in comfort, like the stability that foils can offer, to get rid of, bouncing around and waves and all this other stuff and still be able to cruise around fast around the islands here in New England and in the Caribbean. The second half of the conversation will be about what skills you gain or create when you make such a complicated craft and what other industries you are well suited for with those skills to help out and create other things that have a lot of value to the rest of the world. So right now, Tommy, we've watched the design and construction of this boat from its inception about a year or two ago. Now it's been sailing really hard with aggressive C foils, but also with T foils that have differentials to help keep the boat stable. Bring us up to speed on the 53 and the next stage that you're at this year, 2020 and 2021, to get this boat foiling.
Well, we've been very fortunate, and our patriarch and owner of the yacht, Mr. Sussman, has continued with this quest. So that's amazing. He's been very patient because our motto is, crawl, walk, run, sprint, and we've been taking that along the way in everything we did. You've got to sail with us back in the walking days. We were very fortunate with the Eagle, did the Newport and Annapolis boat shows and sailed her down to the Caribbean. On the way to the Caribbean, we did 585 nautical miles of upwind sailing and 25 knots of wind and open ocean. And I'd like to report that she handled it very well. I learned a lot about the boat and learned a lot about myself. As sailors tend to do in those kind of conditions. The boat is now back. There you see her in the fog. We hauled her out of the water during the pandemic, which was, it was sad we weren't able to sail her as much as we wanted to this summer, but it was a good time to retreat and take her out of the water and go through her with a fine-tooth comb. It gave us also some challenging times during the pandemic to build the foils. They're now at the paint shop, and next week we start putting them on.
Are the foil, and I know when I sailed with you last year that with C foils and differentiated T foils on the rudders, on its own it was super fast. The leeward hull was, basically skimming, and it was just the most stable ride ever. And on top of that, it was very comfortable in the back of the boat in a lounge area. And the front of the boat, even though it was windy, when you were out in the steering station, it was a very calm kind of feeling. So on its own, the design is going along really well. When we talk about the foil shapes and the foil designs, has the design of the foils, for flying, changed from when you from the inception of the project? Like, did you, or have you been developing them along the way?
Well, that's a two-part question. The system has had multi-stages of development. What I'm
The
doing,
ride height control?
exactly.
Right.
I'm here now to pick up a spare mast as we go ahead and go into the next level of foil testing before we start putting the program into the boat.
Okay.
This year, at the beginning of the sailing season in the Caribbean, in December, we discussed with the owner of the yacht whether he wanted high-end speed or takeoff and early takeoff. So we were able to then speak to Paul Beaker, the designer of the foils and engineer, and give him, a smaller window of design by wanting to have early takeoff and sacrifice the design shape for high-end speed. Because at the end of the day, she is a day sailor and a weekender. So that's where what led the charge and focused us in a direction. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to send a question over to Andrew, or at least ask Andrew to chime in. When you talk, and this project has been born out of one individual's desire to have a pretty cool machine to cruise around and visit places in comfort and with speed. What are your thoughts about this kind of space? We haven't really seen kind of a luxury foiler. What kind of questions do you have for that when you have an owner who's being asked questions? How fast do you want to go top end, or how early do you want to go? What kind of curiosities do you have about luxury foiling?
Well, it just fascinates me but clearly we're in a, I don't know whether this is a crossover position that people have here, where the owner who might previously have just had a Laguna or something, something built in Cape Town or built in France, and they wanted the space of a catamaran, but then people get a bit frustrated. And we talked about Paul Larson earlier on, and Paul and Helena, I think, was it that they sail quite a lot, so it's one of those sort of boats. And seeing that perhaps there is a particular niche of an owner who wants to move quickly. He wants to, he wants to be on the space of a catamaran, but he needs to get somewhere because they're just frustrated at dragging along or not being able to go upwind. And so, for me, looking at where the crossover is here between the technology and the creation of this, and that the interaction with the owner, and then Tommy is to whether you think we're now at that pivotal moment when the technology and the design and what's possible is going to be a great appeal to the owner. But clearly, you found one person. Do you think that's an exceptional position, or do you think we're going to see a whole trend in that direction?
Well, I was recently asked that question, and the way I compared it was kind of like when we switched from horse and buggy to the Model T. Not everybody jumped on the bandwagon right away, so it took a bit of a time. And this is a bird of a different feather, to say the least. So, we incorporated a lot of technology. It was an inspiration from the San Francisco Cup, and it took a bit to gather the technology to get here. I think after we start foiling and with the new America's Cup boats and their quest for foiling for monohulls, I think it's going to catch on. It's a matter of time. I know my daughter is in love with it. She's, sailed the UFOs and love that. And I see the kids, getting attracted to to something new. And I think this is the way to the future. And it's actually, we sailed from, if you know the distance, Fort Lauderdale to Newport. It was just a little further to Fairhaven. And we did that in 3.5 days with 2 people. Randy Smythe and I took the boat north, and pretty much we did it all with the jib and the wing. We never had to use the sail. And one of the things we've learned is that the hybrid wing is really easy to control. And now I use the mainsail when it's below 12 knots. Anything above 12 knots, I pretty much go with the jib and the hybrid wing. And as long as I don't want to point above 50 degrees, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So throw a spanner into the works here, Tommy. And
Go ahead.
like many people who can't stop watching sailing around the world on all the different mediums we can pick it up on nowadays, I watched the gunboats in the Caribbean 600 going, gone. Is that something that you're having to address, that the risk of the boat going over, or do you think you've now got to the design point where you're actually able to take that, alleviate that whole worry?
Well, that was actually one of our major concerns, and I guess we were lucky enough to experience it. This hybrid wing and this design didn't come with 5 years of trial and error and practice. So you remember the old pro sailboats, the Formula 40s? I have one. I built a 62-foot wing for it, just like this one. This one's 81. And we did the around the island race where we did capsize the boat. And what we did from the beginning is we didn't want a turtle. Things happen at sea, whether you have a monohull and you snap a modern keel, or you have a cat and you pitch pull, or you just go over, as you saw the F40 do that. We all saw that. And what we did is, if you look at the hybrid wing, the D section, the very leading edge, that's all sealed. So we were able to flip the boat. It wasn't intentional, and it wasn't the Eagle. It was Caliente, the Formula 40. And we never ride it. And then we were lucky, but not lucky, because the U.S. Coast Guard came to rescue us and towed us at 12.5 knots in 40 knots of breeze. And that's
what
really,
they do.
It's really what really proved to be the cat's meow. We were able to go halfway down an island, probably about 7 nautical miles to 12 nautical miles at those speeds. The Clysar broke on our wing. A couple of battens snapped at those speeds. We ended up tying the boat to a mooring, and honestly, all we could think about was getting warm. So we put the sails, lashed them to the trampoline, went to the local bar, had a couple of whiskeys, got warm, went home, came back the next day and righted the boat, took her home, washed everything, patched up the Clysar, and went sailing the next day. So she stayed sideways, honestly, for about 21 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And so how far off being able to, in your mind, come up with a production version of this that the weekend warrior would be able to, with some training and all the rest of it, but be able to take a boat like this and really enjoy some fast sailing?
Well, I really hope that we're there now. We have molds made out of carbon. They can produce 7 beautiful boats. And the way we look at it is very simple. It's not smart to give a 16-year-old a Ferrari, Dino. And this is what this is. I always think of this like a Ferrari met a Rolls Royce and had the Eagle. So to me, is when you bring a boat like this in and you have an owner that's interested and keyed up to go after it and try something new, we have to nurture that. And most guys that are into this are going to be sailors that have a passion for sailing and are passionate about the sport and design and aesthetics and want to try something new. So we like to turn it into a multiple stage situation where we get you used to C foils and using the wing. So that becomes muscle memory. Then after that, the next step is the conversion into the T foils. Then it's getting used to just navigating and tacking and see how the boat handles. So you develop that muscle memory. Now you're able to sail the wing, know how it's going to work and what wind speed. Then the second thing you do, that's the rudders. And then the second thing you do is you have the muscle memory to know how you're going to act and how the boat feels with these new appendages. And then we start flying. So it's a multiple step situation. And within 6 months, you're feeling comfortable enough to start attempting it on your own. And with the foil assist, which we've been able to have an amazing team, and a lot of guys, even from SailGP, are coming to the help. And we're very fortunate, to be honest, to have the team that we have. And the development is going along smoothly. Nothing is easy. Everything worth having is a lot of work.
And so
go ahead.
Sorry, Chris. I was just thinking about it looks quick. So what sort of speeds are we looking at here?
Well, pretty much in 10 knots of breeze, that's our takeoff. True wind speed, 10 knots. We've been able, with the C foils, I'll give you data in a few weeks on T foils. We've been able with the C foils in 10 knots of true breeze, with the jib, the hybrid wing, and the main go upwind. If you're just doodling around, not paying attention, about 14 knots. If you're actually paying attention to what you're doing 16 knots upwind. Off the wind, we've been able to do 18 to 22.
So I'm just thinking about, and it is pretty silent sailing. I don't know whether you can hide away from radar with it, but you could pay for it by just doing a few trips to Cuba and back then, could you, Tommy?
Well, I can tell you what, I still have family down there, so I bet you that'd be a luxury trip.
I think that Tommy brought up something really interesting out of your question, Andrew. And this is, we talk about this a lot in hydrofoiling, which is progression, because you're usually, oftentimes as an individual or just as a design, you're always moving into new territory, which is so exciting for our minds right now and our bodies. That's what's so great about hydrofoiling. Everything is generally new to us, all these different stages. And it's a building block approach. It's a building block approach to design, whether we're talking about AC75s or what Tommy's program is. But I just don't want to lose that element of the fact that the EagleClass 53 is, even as a fully developed foiler, the introduction I'm hearing from Tommy is let the owner start with the C foils, then let them to go faster, and then tune it up and get these skills and build it up until you can really use this thing comfortably and efficiently and use the ride height control systems properly. It's the same as, how I've been learning how to wing foil. I stand on the beach first and learn how to fly the wing, right? And I walk back and forth and figure that out. Then I go on an SUP and I just cruise around and get the balance in the wing. Then I go on the foil board and I do that before I can fly. Once I have all those pieces together, then I'm ready to go to try making my mistakes or whatever, learning how to do the final stage. I remember watching Bruno last year learn how to do that on windsurfer foiling, and going through those stages. And so I don't think we should forget, right, Tommy, that it's all about progression as opposed to just jumping on something, going foiling immediately. There's something specific about hydrofoiling where you have to at least respect the process.
I would agree with that. And one of the things that comes to my mind is when we first brought the boat to the Caribbean and the owner, Donald, was sailing the boat, he, we discussed what was going on later, and he said, this is really not as relaxing as my 90 was. And
that was a gunboat 90, right?
That was the gunboat 90 Sunshine. Right. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I had to really concentrate and think about what I was doing. And I said, that reminds me of when I'm flying or snorkeling or sailing this boat. Everything that I focus on is the sailing. And what were you thinking about, Donald? He goes, I was thinking about only the sailing. I said, well, this is a new way to relax. You're so focused on what you're doing that you've forgotten every other little thing, every problem that we have, all the little things that are in the background of your brain just constantly clicking, because now you're focused in this new discipline that we're learning.
Awesome. And so I want to share, Bruno, do you have any questions?
I have one personal, actually.
Yeah.
I had some experience building rigid wings for C-Class. And when we started, we had no idea. We were not naval architects. And we built that, and it was working. And the thing we didn't want to do was capsizing, where it was like a nightmare. And like capsizing, we actually capsized it twice. And the main problem is that when you capsize, the wing is not breaking by itself, but by the water filling it up. So my question was towards the point that he was bringing some minutes ago about sealing the top of the wing. And if you can give us some insights on what are you using, how are you sealing it to keep it efficient in terms of weight, because you don't want to get so much weight on top and also sealed.
Well, we are very, very fortunate to have a Mosaic design team, and one of these gentlemen is a guy that was very versed at designing wings for the America's Cup, and we gave him all the drawings that we had from the garage build of the first wing that we gave to Randy for 5 years, and he sailed that around, and then the Caliente wing, and the whole theory was always the same. The wing is built with a D section and then an I beam, and that whole area is sealed all the way to the top. And then on the top, there's a top hat bearing that has radial bearings and a thrust bearing at the bottom, and all of that is in a different compartment, and it's totally sealed. So the whole wing all up weighs at 82 feet, a little under 1,000 pounds. Do the math in kilos. I believe that's like 400 something kilos. Am I correct? And that was pretty comparable to an all up mass with rigging and all of that would be weighing. So that's kind of how we kept the riding moment and the yaw and all that away from the boat by not creating such a heavy top, and through the magic of modern engineering and high modulus pre-preg carbon. Thanks to Gurit.
All right, thanks.
Cool. Now I'm going to shift gears. We've just got a couple more minutes left. We're talking about the update to the EagleClass 53. If you've just joined us, that's in its foiling stages of its progression. The foils are at the paint shop right now, and this winter they're going to be easing into lifting the boat completely off the water, not just skimming like it has been, and getting into the next phase. The next part of this question has to do with Fast Forward Composites and Tommy's company and how it's changed, not just over the years, but very recently. The concept here is that when you design and build such a unique and new kind of creation, you gain some really amazing skills and techniques. So the craftsmen become the craftsmen and the designers, craftsmen and women, become very good at very, very specific things because
True.
The equation of a flying boat, it has to be light enough to fly and strong enough to fly, and all the parts have to work in in coordination, and it shouldn't surprise us that it winds up looking beautiful after all that as well, and unique. But sometimes those skill sets and those technologies and techniques find another home. And for Tommy, there's a counterpoint in the universe, which is in the aerospace industry, which happens a lot in the foiling world. And they sought you out. So your company now, through a pandemic, has not just been moving this project and other sailing projects forward, but now you're working in the aerospace industry because all of your skill sets, techniques, and individuals happen to fit perfectly for the aerospace industry. So without giving away some trade secrets, and you said that you're excited to be working on projects that have a positive effect on the world, tell me about what you're doing in aerospace.
Well, the project management of this boat was unique in that we became like a mini America's Cup, and there's so many facets to it, and we were very fortunate with having the Mosaic design team, which was guys from all around the world that engineered and helped us design the boat, and managing and learning that skill set was important. Also, the guys on the floor. I like to say that we had a bunch of young bucks and a lot of old bulls, and because you have to, share that knowledge. That's something that we started doing. All the engineers said, Tommy, share whatever you want, because we believe that rising tides lifts all boat. Now, not every boat is the same, so not every boat floats the same, so it doesn't all go up on the same rate or at the same level. So what we were able to do is, with the uniqueness of the skill set that we learned, we were able to take those skills and as little projects came in one by one, we were able to lend that skill set of high level composite structures and high loads, and a unique way of thinking about how we build our processes and save time and money, which is at the end of the game is how you get to your end game, right? You create a high standard, and you're able to deliver. And that was able to bring new projects in, because the passion is the sailing, and our shop doesn't fit every sailing project that comes along, so we have to survive and keep the 15 families that are in the shop. We're not a very big shop, to keep them going. So we were able to take on and morphosize the butterfly one more time again.
And now, how much can you tell me about the projects that you're working on right now outside of the sailing space?
Well, we're working with some Gurit glues that are reusable, recyclable. That's amazing stuff. We've been able to take that to different areas that I really can't discuss. We've been that's the thing about that stuff, huh?
Yeah.
It's and one of the positive things that we have been able to do is incorporate machining. So our processes are 45% automated now. So that gives us a higher level of precision. Pardon my accent. And we've been able to carry that to different kind of fields. And we're not a very big shop, like I said, so we're able to do 2, maybe 3 projects at a time, and keep that level of quality and bring on foils. We've been very fortunate in that regard.
Cool. And how about, you and I had this conversation about this is the EagleClass 53 can have some really far-reaching effect if it goes into production. It obviously has an already far-reaching effect just by inspiration and learning around the world, because we get to see it and try it and learn about it. And it's not that those things aren't important, but you made a comment about using, and we're going to talk to Artemis Technologies, Ian Percy, about this in terms of using what they've learned in the America's Cup to affect more efficient transportation, for example, and energy reduction, like the reduction in use of energy and use of fossil fuels. Is there a part that excites you about using these, what you've learned at Fast Forward, for projects that are, I wouldn't say, well, more important in some ways in the defense industry and the aerospace industry? Is there a part of you that is excited about working on those projects just because of the intrinsic value of the impact?
Well, one of the things that always sticks out to me is we've learned how to buy materials. We've learned how to shop, because our industry in composites in general is not a very clean industry, and we have to work really hard to do that. Right. And not have huge dumpsters go off to the landfills that our children's children will have to deal with someday. So what we're able to do is shop properly through the CNC machines that we have, and thanks to all that technology, we're able to reduce the waste through being able to be cautious with our bags and recycle our bags and carry it through a whole project almost. We've learned to have our recyclable dumpster is picked up twice a week, and our garbage dumpster once a month. So we're very lucky, and I misspoke. I meant to say twice a month for
there you go.
Not twice a week. So that's one of the things. And the boat with the 25 gallons of fuel can go so far, because we carry 50 gallons in total. And that's pretty amazing. I think that as we start motorboating and things change within the next couple of decades, we're going to notice the same speeds for less engine and less fossil fuel burning, because hopefully once we start foiling and the car industry catches on, it's happening all around the world. We're using less fossil fuels.
Cool.
We'll be more efficient.
Awesome. And actually, that's something we know that about hydrofoiling. It's awesome that we can actually translate it into something that that helps save. Bruno.
Yes. So since we were talking about sustainability and composites, which is it's quite a subject we're pretty interested here at Foiling Week, I was wondering if, like many other industries, like the car manufacturing industry, it's turning towards more bio composites, like flax fibers. For example, there's some Teslas with flax fiber composites and bio epoxy resins. Do you have any parts on the boat already, or are you planning to add some bio-sourced composite parts in Eagle?
Well, we've been very lucky, and with Gurit sending us materials to play with and to do some tests, we have now started that process in the shop. When we built the Eagle and we started this project, and when we started laying her up in 2016, this was something people were talking about. I believe France was one of the countries that was leading the charge in that. And we're all reading about it with excitement and watching the boats come out. But when you're building this at a commercial level, it's the resources and the time spent on the water weren't there. So we couldn't take those chances. But now that at our shop, we're learning how to use the materials and we're able to test, we can go ahead and look towards the future and the next boats.
Great, thank you.
Andrew, we're going to start to wrap this up, but I mean,
yeah, well, mine's
go ahead.
I've got a wrap up sort of a remark to make, and that's this has been a great session for me to listen into, because I'm not one of those elite sailors that goes out into his moth and gets a beak of this and gets a that and a wasp, and I'm not. That's not me. I'm much more the person who's going to want to go for a fast ride on your owner's boat. So perhaps I'm more of a generation. But what's great for me is to see what you've been championing here, and that expression about it's hard to soar like an eagle when you've got the mindset of a turkey. And there's no doubt, you guys have been flying up there, soaring up there, like the eagle that you created. So well done. It's fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Great, Tommy. Well, we're going to move into another topic in our next forum, which is talking about new race formats that hydrofoiling craft either help drive or that we create out of our imaginations, whether it be for broadcasting or just for plain old fun. But for now, I'll let us all close our eyes and dream about being in the Caribbean on an Eagle 53 and sitting on those plush red couches and sitting at the little bar stools on a carbon bar. And
join us.
Yes. And so, Tommy, please send us stuff that we can share in our feed as the winter goes on. And Foiling Week will be following you. It's great to talk about some of the Gurit materials. And Bruno, thank you for bringing up the flex fibers and all those things that you discussed in the Sumoth challenge yesterday. It's really cool to see how all these things are connected.
And it's very exciting to be part of your forum. And again, thank you for the invitation.
Oh, yeah. We thank you. It's a lot of great people. And we're not even halfway through this. So Tommy, make sure you share on all your feeds, all these connections I shared with Rachel, Langdon Fallon, where we'd be. And to Bruno and Andrew and Tommy, thank you so much. I hope everyone sticks around for the next forum with SailGP and the Persico 69F. So
great.
Enjoy your morning, guys.
Bye. Stay safe.
Thank you, Tommy. Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.
Ciao.